Storytime. Back when Marvel announced that they would start doing some TV shows, and specifically one that was centered around Loki, I was the opposite of hyped. I pretty openly hated when Marvel brought back dead characters, and Loki had already been killed and brought back like 6 times, so needless to say, my expectations were on the floor.
No resurrections this time.
But lo and behold, 9 shows later, and Loki is the only one that feels like it has any reason to exist. Season 2 just wrapped up this past week, and I thought it was pretty good. In fact, I actually liked it more than Season 1. I think what makes Loki work, where the other ones don't, is that it actually takes advantage of the fact that it is a TV show. Things happen in each episode and they conclude in a natural way. Seasons 1 and 2 feel like 2 halves of a longer season more than they do feel like 2 separate seasons, and I think that's a good thing. Moon Knight, Secret Invasion, and all the other ones feel like a movie plot stretched out to excruciating length. Loki, on the other hand, does not overstay its welcome. I feel excited and fulfilled when an episode ends. The other thing it does extremely well is that it has its own distinct look and feel from the rest of the MCU. The set design, production design, and the TVA and the score all really help Loki stand out and feel like it exists in its own universe, which in a way it kind of does. I can't stress enough that this is the exact level of detail I'm looking for in pretty much every Marvel thing. The TVA feels real and lived in, and there's actual depth to the frame every time we're in there. There's a moment in the finale where the story is just kind of being told with the music. I haven't seen so much visual storytelling done in an MCU thing outside the Guardians in a very long time. The other thing I really think makes the show stand out is just the cast. Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson have extremely good chemistry, and the rest of the cast is very good as well. Ke Huy Quan was such a great addition to the cast. His inclusion felt extremely natural, as if he'd been there the whole time. But what's so good about this specific season is its commitment to just telling and finishing this Loki storyline. There's not a lot of setup for more future MCU projects. It really is just focused on Loki and the surrounding characters. It wraps up threads from season 1 and introduces some of its own, but it never feels like it's setting up more than it has any intention to ever follow up on. We get to see more of Jonathan Majors Kang, and while that situation is a bit complicated obviously, the season leaves off in a way where it feels pretty natural whether they decide to go forward with Kang or if they don't want to go forward with Kang. Both ways feel like they can naturally bridge out of this season. I also really loved the editing in a lot of this season. There's a lot of just like really fun montages and moments, specifically everything they're doing with Loki's time splicing ability is really fun and interesting. I think like it would be easy for a show that does so much with time travel to become pretty stale and formulaic and use it in very safe ways. But Loki does some kind of interesting things that I hadn't seen in time travel type stuff before. I just had so much fun watching most of the time. It really is something that I feel like most of the other shows don't even have. I was bored out of my mind during Secret Invasion. I was mad during Moon Knight because it didn't feel like Moon Knight, whereas this kind of just gave me exactly what I was hoping for, which is some quality Loki-focused story. I think the ending of the season is incredibly solid as well. Without spoiling anything, it's a really nice conclusion for all the characters involved. I actually think this is the only Marvel show that would have any reason to keep going. Its premise and the fact that it exists outside of time makes it really easy for like an ongoing series of Loki and adventures with Mobius and whatever. But after seeing the finale, I am hopeful that Marvel will kind of leave this story alone for a while because it has a very solid story and message and leaves off on a very satisfying note. That's not to say the season was all perfect. It's not my favorite thing in the MCU. I think there's some plot points that the writers kind of lost the thread on a little bit. Specifically, a lot of what happened with Sylvie in the first season, and specifically the romance plot from the first season, kind of gets dropped here, which I don't mind necessarily because I wasn't a big fan of the romance plot, but I do feel like Sylvie was kind of put to the side a little bit where she felt more like a main character in the first season. Renslayer also felt a bit tacked on. I kind of forgot about what was going on with her by the end, and I think there could have been a little bit more put into that. But besides those 2 nitpicks, this really was a great season. The like final sequence that I was talking about that was just with the music, like it really did give me chills, which I never would have thought a Loki show would ever do to me. I've never been like a huge Loki person. He's never been my favorite person in the MCU, but like it's clear that the writers of both seasons have cared about Loki as a character and catered the whole season to his story, and I think that just it shows that a dedication to any character, whether or not I care about them, can make their product really enjoyable. I should talk Marvel quite a lot, and that's because we get stuff like Secret Invasion and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania when I know they're capable of giving us Loki Season 2s and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3s. It just shows what can happen when they actually let their creators cook. So, what did you think of Loki Season 2? Do you think Season 3 should be made, or should it be left alone like I'm saying? Let me know what you think, and stay tuned, because there's another Marvel project that came out this week, and I also watched it, and a video on that will be out soon.